Welcome to week 14. This week we're looking at Thomas Gainsborough. Highlight when the artist lived, talk about some of his likes, dislikes, where he was from, spend about 5 minutes doing an intro to the artist, and then about 20 minutes for the project. One thing to note about him is that, where was it? He loved, I was gonna read it verbatim, but okay. He was happiest painting landscapes. He found that they did not sell well, so he often placed the subjects of his portraits in landscape settings. So he is famous for, this is probably one of his most famous ones, is the boy blue. So I'm glad they chose this one for the front of the card. So that, yes, that they can identify this is a Gainsborough painting, but that his true love was just to paint the landscapes. And that's why we see we see those details here, but not many people wanted to buy just the landscapes. They probably wanted portraits and pictures of themselves. So the one that I chose is called Coastal Landscape with a Shepherd and His Flock. Coastal Landscape with a Shepherd and His Flock, which has some strong similarities to last week's where we did Mr. Rembrandt's, and we also did this landscape with a boat. So one, I think it's good for them to see some similarities between them and to look at the differences. We will be getting away from landscapes next week, but I thought this was just a great segue because now we're adding color into it, but we're still working with that same dimension horizon line so they can work on those skills. But again, seeing those similarities and differences within the artist's work. All right, so let's get started. For this, you're going to need that manila paper. You're gonna need a paintbrush, a jar of water, and those water-soluble oil pastels. These are the colors that you're gonna need. So, because when we look at this, let me get the student example. You can lay these under some books and they'll flatten out. But we see greens and yellows and browns and blacks, and then the boats. So each age is going to be, a little bit more refined. I'm just doing one video this week and we'll be mentioning the things that you could come in and add, like adding the sheep for the upper levels. But we're just going to stick with the same video for these. Okay, so manila paper, horizontal. There are several different shades of browns, and that's what you can point out in our picture. We've got different shades of green and tints. So when they go to get their green, it's okay if they don't have the same green as you. Here's 3 different color greens in this portfolio series, and so they can get any one, because what I'm going to suggest is then we rotate and we put different color greens in there. So tell them not to worry. They will be able to use them. Okay, I'm gonna start with a white oil pastel, and we're going to do that horizon line across, and we see the similarity here. His paper size or canvas size is different, but he's similar in the sense that he's sitting down. We've got a lot of sky compared to the ground. So make sure I'm in frame here. This high-tech filming here in my kitchen. Okay, and we're gonna draw a line straight across. Please encourage the students to do this. If parents need to put a dot and then connect it, that's great. But I would love for the students to be able to do as much as this if they can. All right, then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create this. I'm having trouble fitting both of these big images on here. There we go. All right, so make sure you print this out so they can see what you're working toward and how you're mimicking this great artist. We're gonna create the water area here. So it goes to about the middle. So you could put a dot in the middle, and then we're gonna come over here and we're gonna come down a little bit and then swoop up there to the middle. That creates our water. Now we're going to create these pathways here, and then we're gonna start adding the color. I'm using these oil pastels every week, these water-based oil pastels, because you're gonna be able to get a great product, a finished product, without having 6 colors of paint all over the room and having to worry about the mess of that and transporting it. But if you're up for it, then you can do that. All right, then we're going to come to the middle of this water that we just drew, and we're going to come down like to the middle there. Now we're going to do you see this, how this creates a V right here? So we're going to have like a letter V or an arrow, and that's kind of like in the middle of this spanse right here. So we're going to connect it here. Sometimes the oil pastels will pick up other colors, and that's fine because we're gonna be adding layers on top of it. So this is for all levels to do this step right here. Okay, so we've got the horizon line, we've created the water, and we're creating this pathway right here. Excuse me. Okay, next we're gonna start adding the color, and this is where, oh wait, I forgot the boats. Because while we have the white oil pastel, we're going to do this kind of like this rectangle triangle combined. So we're gonna build it this way. We're going to do a square or a rectangle, not all the way down to the bottom, because we're gonna do our boat underneath that. And then we're gonna do a triangle on top, like so. And they can color that in. Now there's only one white in each pack. You can, sometimes I will order, I'll put a link. I'll get a pack of just whites when we're doing like these sketches and stuff. And then that way everybody can have it. Or you can also use just a lighter color if you don't want to do that. You could use this golden brown, and then they could share when it's time to do the mast. Okay, so we're gonna put that down. And now we're going to create our green grass. Again, there's like 3 greens when you get that 24 pack for the oil pastels with those colors. And so you can use any of those. We're going to color halfway down, and we're gonna go over right here. See, I've got green here, and I have green about halfway down. And if you look, it's not very sharp and defined like when we were looking at some of the great artists in cycle 1. So it's okay when they're coloring on top of these lines. It'll drive some parents crazy. Okay, now we're gonna put some bushes. Again, depending on your child, your age of your class, maybe you just do like 1 bush. But you could do a little bump. You could do a little, see this bush here is the most prominent and how it kind of sticks out. And then kind of another little bump. All right, then you can say, all right, let's trade. Everybody trade greens. Now let's color right on top of some of those that you may have already done. You don't have to color all of it. Oh, all right, let's trade again. And then we're adding in a 3rd green. It's not completely solid, as you can see. Some areas did get more color, but we're just giving a nice medium coverage. Okay, next we're going to do the yellow. There are a couple yellows in there. There's a yellow and a yellow orange, either one. We're gonna do this line here. These colors can overlap. And we're gonna color this path that we did. And it goes over to the side. We've got a little bit of yellow there. If you wanna trade, get in some other shades, that's great. And you know, sometimes the process doesn't look very pretty. Like this doesn't look great right now, but we're just trusting the process. and keep going and adding and layering. So tell them not to get discouraged. All right, now, if you squint your eyes and really look at this, if I squint it, I see that there's really a lot of dark colors. Like we've got brown and black here, brown and black there, and browns and black here. So that's what we're going to add next. We're actually gonna cover up and layer these areas. There's 2 browns, and then we've got our black. So you can say, all right, color in the browns on everything that's left. All right, and even put, oh look, we need to put a little bit of brown on our bushes over here. And then you say, all right, trade with your neighbor. Let's add in some more brown. Now, for the younger ones, I would just stick to this. For the older ones, we will add this tree. For the younger ones, we are gonna take, whenever they have one of those browns, it doesn't matter which one, we're going to do our curved line underneath this boat, and we're gonna do our mast coming up through it, like so. And you can make that a little bit thicker if you want, okay? To get our boat in there. All right. And I would encourage them to overlap just a little bit on, like, to the yellow and the pathway. And that's where I want them to watch you, but I'll want them to be looking like, okay, where else do we need to add some more? Oh, I think we need to add, look how dark this is. I mean, this is almost black on this side. So let's take some black and add that over here. And then we're gonna add some black on this side. And I'm gonna even put some of those dark colors here. All right, so for the Besadarians, I would leave it like so. And then we will go on to the water part. If you have older students, then you can come and put this tree that's in the foreground. It's pretty prominent in the picture. And it's a gnarly kind of looking tree. So, I mean, it's not gonna be straight up. You can talk about how it's got the angle to it. So we'll angle it, and it goes past the horizon line. It really falls off the page. Like so. And this is their artwork. So if their tree doesn't look exactly like his, that's okay. There's not 2 trees that are alike. All right, but again, that would be for the middle to upper level, okay? And I'm gonna add some black onto that. All right, so now it's time to wake all of this up. It's like putting paint. Remember, this is like paint in a stick. And we are putting it on the paper. Now we're gonna wake it up. So, remind them, handle, ferrule, brush. Our hand goes on the handle. You can rake it across. Don't tap it because we don't want to get other people's paintings. So we're gonna start. Oh my goodness, I forgot the clouds. If you look, lots of clouds. So you just take that white and just do some clouds. Up here we can talk about our science. What types of clouds are we drawing? What do yours look like? Okay, we're gonna start with the clouds. We're going to paint those, or wet those, kind of wake them up. Just kind of soften them a little bit. Now these white ones, these small white ones, are not the water soluble, which is fine when you're doing the outlining, but just note that. Okay, then we can go over our boats. And it's okay that these are mixing together. You see my mast and my sail, because look how muted his is. We cannot see much of the detail. We can barely see that that mast is coming through. And if you want to paint the boat a little bit, All right, now starting from the top, we're working down. Now let's go to the greenery. So here, you get the idea. So you just want to have them, you go the direction of what they were painting. So what they were drawing with their oil pastel. And these colors will start mixing together. So I want to keep my plants below my horizon line here. Now for the older students, if they've got a nice stiffer brush, you could even come and, if it's a little bit damp, not too, you can have a little bit of that color showing a little bit of the texture like that, but we're just gonna go on top of it. See how all those are mixing together. I wanna skip over my tree right now. I wanna save him to the last, because I don't want him to smear in. I want him to stay kind of crisp. But all these colors are mixing together. And if you look at his, see how his really, a lot of muted tones blending together. He loved the landscapes. This is the same paper we used last week, which is just the Manila paper. It is not a watercolor paper. So if you start putting too much water on it, it will not be good. But you've also created a barrier with these oil pastels. So just be mindful if someone is water happy. All right, around my tree, you can see how all these are working together nicely. Okay, I'm gonna kind of clean my brush a little bit. Then I'm gonna work up my tree here to smooth it out, but I still want it to have some of that definition. And again, this is for the upper level, like so. And with a really thin brush, like if you've got an angled one, you can turn it on its side and get it some more detail on there. Okay. Now, you could stop there. If you've got time and you're maybe like in the master's class and you want to even add more detail, my suggestion would be to add some little sheep. Now, depending on how much water they put on there, you may be able to do it, soon after. You could have a table where they just do their sheep, or you could just bring them, and like, they just need like a little dot. There's several sheep in this picture. A whole flock, all right here. So maybe you just concentrate on doing like 3 sheep. Like we don't have probably the space to replicate all of these. So, and again, we don't look at the painting, we don't see a lot of detail, but we do have one sitting over here. So really it's just gonna kind of be like this oval, and it's just gonna have a little circle sitting on top to give us the impression of a sheep sitting there. Oval, the little circle. Your 30 minutes will go by quick. So you may not have time for this. This one, they kind of look like they're just resting on the ground. So in your mind, you may think that you need to have legs, but his just look like they're just resting there. So you could put the sheep, you could go back in and add like a little bit more detailed with a pen. But there we go. There is week 14 Gainsborough.